we're gonna get out here and pull the old 58 inside the shop and see if we can fix the broken exhaust. Fell off last time I drove it, and I haven't really had the time to mess with it yet, so let's get this thing over in the shop and put it up in the rack. Alright, let's see if this whole thing will start. Turn the compressor and the fans off. Choke it. Come on. There we go. Whole thing's just camming away out here. One muffler on, one muffler off. Just barely idling. Alright, I got this thing in here. Let's see if we can get it up in the air. Last time I did this, I remember it being a pain because even with the truck aired up all the way, it's still too low. This thing's leaning forward like crazy. I always hate lifting this thing up. It just seems so unbalanced. I'll put a pole jack in the front so it holds it up. Go ahead and get this thing up in the air. Pole jack under the front just for a little extra safety. Makes me feel better. See what we got going on here with the exhaust. Well, that'll make it louder for sure. Freaking weld broke right off that muffler. And that's the weld that came on the flange from the muffler when I bought them. So I guess we'll get it cleaned up and see if we can weld it back on. But this thing might need a new exhaust system in its future if this is how these mufflers are going to act. Now I did notice this thing smoking quite a bit when I was driving it, so I assume something's leaking on the exhaust. And it looks like it could be the oil pan or the rear main leaking a little bit. And then, yeah, you can see the oil getting built up on the exhaust over here and on the H-pipe. But there's also some red fluid, which tells me a training fluid, coming out of the rear seal right there. And that one I've replaced multiple times, so I have a feeling that yoke is scored up or something, making it leak. Because I've done that seal like 3 times now and it still just keeps leaking. So we'll just clean it off and keep running it, I guess. Check the fluid and probably spray off this exhaust so it stops smoking. But everything under here is just coated in oil, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, except for when it starts smoking on the exhaust. The underbody and the frame being a little oily, I'm not too worried about because That's just more rust preventative, right? Here you can see the rear fuel cell setup and airbags and the shock mounts and everything, how they're all set up. Pretty basic setup. It's the first one I ever built, so it's not my best work, but I learned a lot doing it, so there's always that. And everything from here forward just gets better and better. So this was my starting point, and maybe one day we'll go through it and change it up and make it better. But this thing works, and I get to drive it long distance and not worry about it, so I'm happy with that. Now I need to try to get it to come back a little bit to close that gap right there. There we go. Now I'll try to get in there with the wire wheel and clean it all up so I can weld it. Try to wipe off a little bit more of the grease. All right, let's get it welded up. I'm gonna turn that down, it's getting a little hot. Well, I think that'll do it. It'll hold or it won't. Went pretty good all the way around this side, and then it got a little thin over here, blowed a couple holes in there. But got it welded up all the way around. Looks pretty decent for how nasty that metal was. So there we go, got the exhaust put back on. Hopefully this one doesn't break soon. I was trying to think if there's anything else I've been needing to do to this thing, but other than the exhaust, I can't really think of anything. So I'll get some brake clean out and spray off all this oil best I can off the exhaust, and then we'll pull this thing outside and wash it off and go for a drive. Get our oil checked real quick and check the water and everything, make sure it's all good, and then we'll take it out for a drive. Oil's full. Good water in there. water's full there. So that's all good to go. I say we pull it out and get this thing washed up real quick. Let's see how it sounds with the exhaust back on. Now, believe it or not, what I use to wash this thing, Fast Orange hand cleaner and a rag, and just wipe it down and then rinse it off one more time. It's got a little bit of grit to it, so it washes it good, and I'm not too worried about the paint on this thing, obviously, but it washes it really good. Got this thing washed up, and we're gonna take it for a little cruise. Got the radio working. Let's go drive to the gas station, put some gas in this thing, and drive it around a little bit. Amazed with how well this thing rides for how low it is. Just rides super smooth. If it wasn't for the gearing in this truck, I would drive it all the time, drive it all the way to work and whatnot, but having the Turbo 400 with no overdrive and 411s in the rear end, this thing's not very good on the freeway. It tops out about 55 miles an hour. Tried driving it how it was before, just real quick, and it was brutal how loud it was, but it sounds good now. Man, this thing looks good all laid out like that. Well, I'm excited I can get back on the road and drive this thing some more. Well, now the 240 runs, I'm gonna go do some rearranging out here in the yard so I can bring all these vehicles back out and park them, and that way we can mow over here where all the cars have been parked. Got everything moved over here. Trailer, the 240, Cranbrook, and the 58. Alright, I'm gonna spend some time now getting the shop cleaned up and organized now that I got all the cars out of here. And then I'll pull the Impala back in so it can stay inside. And yeah, I got a bit of a mess here to take care of. But thank you guys for checking out this video. I know it wasn't too exciting, just me getting some regular stuff out of the way that I need to get done, and some driving around, whatnot. So stay tuned for the next one. Next one should be on the Impala again, and we'll get a bunch of maintenance stuff done on the Impala and do some proper driving with that. So thank you guys for checking it out, and we'll see you guys in the next video.